The bell's already been rung, and they've heard it. Out in the dark, among the stars. Ding dong, the god is dead.
Welcome back, everyone. It's Charlie. This is going to be my new Justice League Snyder Cut teaser trailer video. Zack Snyder has been dropping a bunch of new footage for the big panel that's happening tomorrow, so we'll break it all down. There are a ton of brand new scenes. I'll be doing videos for all the big DC movie trailers that they drop this weekend, so be sure to subscribe to get all those videos. I'll do a special giveaway as part of those too. DC sent me this giant mystery box as part of DC Fandome, so I'll open this later on my social media accounts, so just look out for that separately later today. But just going down the list here, the new footage starting with number 5. It starts with a very different version of Batman going to recruit Aquaman. We see him handing Aquaman his Bruce Wayne business card like Batman carries around business cards. This version of the scene in the movie is way more hardcore than the one in the theatrical cut. Like, there's still a scene of him going to recruit Aquaman in the theatrical cut, but the Zack Snyder version is very, very different. You all probably remember that they included a bunch of that Zack Snyder footage in the original Justice League trailers from a couple years ago, so we've actually seen some versions of this scene before. There was also that special behind-the-scenes video that Zack Snyder released back at Comic-Con 2016 that had a lot of this footage in that too. The one in the Snyder Cut is a much longer version of the scene that plays out, and Aquaman almost rips Batman in half. He's so aggressively not into joining his special quote-unquote new superhero club that he's putting together. Initially, when you meet Aquaman during the Snyder Cut, he's way more standoffish. He really doesn't want to have anything to do with humanity other than the people that he's protecting in this town. And on the other side of things, he doesn't want to have anything to do with the Atlanteans because they don't like him either. There's a big subplot storyline for Aquaman's character in the Snyder Cut that he's adding back in, way more setup for his character before the Aquaman movie that gives you a lot more context for his relationship with Atlantis, and a bunch more Atlantis, Mira, and even a big Vulko scene. That's right, Willem Dafoe filmed a bunch of footage for Justice League as Vulko that just wound up hitting the cutting room floor because they deleted a bunch of storylines to get the film down to a 2-hour runtime. I don't know if any of that footage is going to be in the full Justice League trailer that Zack Snyder drops tomorrow, but the Vulko stuff was basically him just having similar conversations that they had during the Aquaman movie, sort of giving you more backstory on their relationship and what Aquaman was like growing up, why the Atlanteans don't want to have anything to do with him even though he has this responsibility to protect them because he's the heir apparent. Then a much longer version of these scenes with Mira that you saw during the theatrical cut sort of explaining their relationship, because she actually had a pre-existing relationship with Aquaman's mother, so she has sort of ties to him even though they're not really romantically involved with each other at this point in the story. James Wan, who's directing Aquaman 2, is going to be doing a panel for that at DC Fandome, but they haven't started filming that yet, so I don't know if he's going to show off any concept art. I think he's going to explain a little bit about where the story is headed in Aquaman 2, outside of Black Manta just becoming the main villain. Then number 4, there's another cyborg scene in Star Labs with the Flash looking like he's having trouble functioning properly, like he's just trying to get his bearings. This is probably from later in the movie, because Zack Snyder did film an origin story for Cyborg that got deleted from the theatrical cut. That's what all these football scenes are from. This is from before he fused with the Mother Box. That all happened before the events of Batman v Superman. So the football scenes in Justice League are flashbacks to a couple of years ago in context in the timeline. But he only became Cyborg a little while ago. It hasn't been that long. It's kind of this subplot of his arc during Justice League. He still doesn't fully understand his powers, and as the film goes along, he learns more and more about his connection to the Mother Boxes, about Darkseid, Apocalypse. So we might even see some references to that Batman v Superman background scene of his father studying him as he gets fused with the Mother Box in the Snyder Cut. That was from that footage that was on Lex Luthor's hard drive. The scene of the burning car flying at the police officer near the Kryptonian ship is another Cyborg scene of him after he's become Cyborg in present day saving the cop, just him being a hero. You probably remember there was a version of that scene that also appeared in some of the trailers. I believe it happens sometime close to when they get ready to fight Superman in that big resurrection scene. If you saw any of the deleted scenes that leaked out after the movie came out in theaters a couple of years ago, most of those were actually Cyborg scenes. Because of all the characters in the movie, Cyborg's scenes were cut out the most. Zack Snyder made this big deal in his big JusticeCon panel about the storyline for Cyborg in the Snyder Cut being very, very different. He said that Cyborg was an important character in his version of the movie because he's supposed to be this core member, the heart of the Justice League who helps bring the team together initially. And as you saw during the theatrical cut, we didn't see any of that. It doesn't seem like that's going on because he's barely in that version of the movie to begin with. And it almost seems like in that version, Wonder Woman has to drag him along kicking and screaming to join the team. A lot of questions about how the Snyder Cut is just going to be a different version of the theatrical cut. It's actually going to be a completely different movie. I still think there's going to be a lot of confusion about that until they release a bunch more footage and you see a bunch of those new scenes. Then number 3, there's a scene of the Flash running that actually looks very similar to the scene of him running through the Kryptonian ship when they were resurrecting Superman, but the background of the landscape here makes it look like it's happening during that big final battle in the movie against Steppenwolf. I think part of the reason why a lot of his running scenes look similar is because all of Ezra Miller's running scenes were done on green screen on this giant treadmill, so anytime he runs in the movie, even when it's in different scenes, he looks very similar, like they're reusing footage, even though they're not. They just use this giant treadmill like Grant Gustin used to use on the Flash TV show when he was running. The Flash TV show has actually changed the way they do their running scenes a little differently, but overall, if there's something that I wish they improve for the Flash movie, talking about Ezra Miller's Flash, it would be the way he looks when he's running. They won't be filming that movie for a while, and I know they just made the big announcement about Ben Affleck coming back as Batman during that movie, so I'll address that at the end of the video too. But number 2, then there's the same scene of Wonder Woman, Cyborg, and Aquaman inside Steppenwolf's base dropping down. This was in all the early trailers when Zack Snyder was still on the movie, so this scene probably looks familiar. One of the things you'll notice, though, is that even though a lot of these Zack Snyder scenes that he's been teasing stayed in later trailers after Joss Whedon took over the movie, what they started to do in those later versions of the trailers is start to recolor the movie so that it looked like the Whedon cut. They changed the aspect ratio of the movie, too. So in the theatrical cut, that's why all these scenes look like they're happening during the day, but in the Zack Snyder footage, it looks like they're happening at night. But Zack Snyder did this big explainer back at his Justice League Comic-Con panel where he explained that he filmed the entire movie, or his version of the movie, in true IMAX aspect ratio, which is closer to 4:9, which looks letterbox. He did say that at some point there was always the hope that maybe they could do a limited theatrical IMAX release, but no idea when that could happen or if Warner Brothers would ever want to do it, because right now they're only releasing the Justice League Snyder Cut on HBO Max next year. Then number 1, there's this new version of the Superman resurrection scene where he fights the rest of the Justice League. Notice again how even though it seems similar to the theatrical cut fight that he has with the Justice League, it's actually happening at night in the Snyder Cut, so it looks very different. And the scene itself, obviously in the Snyder Cut, is much longer than the version of the theatrical cut. Remember, the Snyder Cut is going to be over 4 hours long, so that includes longer versions of scenes and just complete subplots for characters during the movie that were cut out. Like I talk about how they killed Cyborg's storyline during the movie for the theatrical cut. Just recently, when Zack Snyder was releasing this footage, he was also making fun of part of the theatrical version of this scene too. He was joking about the "Do You Bleed" scene where Superman is getting ready to rip Batman apart. So I'm assuming that means that was a Joss Whedon line of dialogue that they added in the reshoots. So a real helpful guide for the footage that was Joss Whedon's versus the footage that was Zack Snyder's in the original theatrical cut is that anytime you see Superman with the weird looking mustache removal special effects, that's all from the Joss Whedon reshoots. Anytime you see Superman looking normal, like this scene here, no special effects on Henry Cavill's face, he looks totally normal, that's all Zack Snyder footage. There's going to be a bunch of big trailers that they release tomorrow, so as long as you have alerts enabled for my channel, you should see all those videos when I post them. I'll just do videos for as many things as I can, and anything I don't get to Saturday, I'll just do videos for later in the week. I just did a big video about Ben Affleck coming back in the Flash movie as Bruce Wayne for some Flashpoint scenes. Click here to learn what's going on with that, and click here for my brand new Wonder Woman 1984 trailer video. Thank you so much for watching. Everyone stay safe. I'll see you guys tonight.